Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are uncovering a story that feels like it belongs to the future, but it is happening right now. It is the story of a nation that is slowly losing its most basic source of life, a nation thirsty for survival. Iran's crisis is not just about drought. It is about survival, identity, and a future that hangs in the balance. For centuries, water shaped the heart of Iranian civilization. Ancient cities were built around rivers, springs, and underground canals. Engineers created qanat systems that quietly carried water through tunnels carved deep beneath mountains and deserts. This knowledge allowed people to flourish in a land where water was never guaranteed. Water wasn't just a resource, it was sacred, carefully protected, and deeply respected. But in the modern rush toward growth, that ancient balance has been pushed aside. The roots of today's crisis go back many decades. As the population grew and cities expanded, the demand for water increased dramatically. Agriculture expanded rapidly, and water became the main fuel of that growth. Dams were built across rivers to store and control water, promising stability and progress. Instead, many of these projects interrupted natural water flows and trapped sediments that rivers needed to stay healthy. Downstream regions slowly began to dry, but the warning signs were ignored. One of the most shocking realities is how much pressure has been placed on groundwater. Beneath Iran lies a hidden network of water reserves that took thousands of years to form. These aquifers acted like nature's savings account. But instead of withdrawing carefully, the country began spending it all at once. Millions of wells were drilled, many of them without regulation. Water was pumped out faster than rainfall could ever replace it. These underground reserves are now dangerously low. As the groundwater disappears, the earth itself begins to collapse. This process, known as land subsidence, has become a silent disaster across Iran. Entire regions are slowly sinking. Roads crack open, buildings tilt, and pipelines break without warning. Unlike drought, this damage is permanent. Once the ground collapses, it can never be restored. This means that even if rain returns, some areas will never be able to store water again. The disappearance of rivers has deeply changed daily life. Rivers like Zay, Rud, and Karan once defined major cities. Today, many of these rivers run dry for most of the year. Bridges stand over dust instead of water. Riverbeds have turned into walking paths. The sound of flowing water has been replaced by silence. What used to be a source of pride and beauty is now a symbol of loss. Lake Urmia stands as one of the most powerful symbols of this disaster. Once one of the largest saltwater lakes in the region, it supported wildlife, tourism, and local economies. Now it is mostly dry. The exposed salt crust reflects sunlight like snow, but beneath that beauty lies devastation. Toxic dust storms rise from the dry lakebed, spreading salt and chemicals over farms and villages. Crops fail. Air quality drops. Local people face serious health problems. Farmers are some of the hardest hit victims of this crisis. Agriculture in Iran depends heavily on water, but much of the irrigation system is outdated. Traditional flood irrigation wastes huge amounts of water through evaporation. At the same time, intensive crops are grown in dry regions, pushing water demand even higher. Farmers are trapped in a devastating cycle. They need water to survive, but the way they farm destroys the very resources they depend on. Cities are now living under constant water stress. Water pressure drops. Supplies are cut off without warning. Families store water in rooftop tanks and plastic containers. Tanker trucks deliver emergency water in many neighborhoods. Schools and hospitals struggle to function during shortages. For millions of people, turning on the tap no longer brings security. It brings uncertainty. The crisis is also forcing people to leave their homes. Rural communities that relied on farming and livestock can no longer survive without water. Entire villages are being abandoned. Families move toward large cities, hoping to find work and stability. Instead, they often face overcrowding, unemployment, and rising living costs. This mass internal migration is reshaping the country's social structure. Climate change has pushed this situation even further. Rainfall patterns are becoming unpredictable. Snowfall in mountain regions is decreasing, reducing the natural supply of rivers. Heat waves are becoming stronger and longer, increasing evaporation from reservoirs and soil. Droughts last longer and return more frequently. These are not temporary changes. They are the new reality. Environmental damage spreads far beyond water alone. Wetlands have disappeared. Forest areas weaken as soil moisture declines. Wildlife loses safe habitats. Soil becomes dry and dusty, easily lifted by the wind. Dust storms have become larger, darker, and more frequent. These storms carry salt, sand, and pollutants into cities, affecting millions of people. The economy feels the pressure every day. Agriculture failures increase food prices. Livestock industries shrink. Factories reduce production because water is no longer reliable. Tourism collapses in regions that once attracted visitors to lakes and rivers. Jobs disappear. Communities fall into deeper poverty. The cost of importing food and treating polluted water continues to rise. There is also a political and social side to the crisis. Water shortages have triggered protests in many regions. Farmers block roads and canals. Communities demand fair water distribution. Tensions rise between provinces accused of stealing or diverting shared water resources. Water has become a sensitive and emotional issue, tied to identity and survival. Despite the darkness, there are small signs of resistance. Some regions have started closing illegal wells. Modern irrigation systems like drip irrigation are slowly being introduced. Some industries are learning to recycle wastewater. Public awareness is growing through education and media. These actions are not yet strong enough, but they represent hope. New technologies could help change the future. Desalination plants near coastal regions could provide fresh water from the sea. Smart water management systems can detect leaks and reduce waste. Rainwater harvesting systems can help cities collect and store rainfall. Recycling treated wastewater for agriculture can reduce pressure on freshwater sources. Education will play a critical role. Children are learning that water is not infinite. Communities are being introduced to conservation habits. Small changes in everyday behavior can add up to large long-term results. Turning off unnecessary taps, repairing leaks, and smarter irrigation can slowly reduce demand. Iran's crisis is a warning to the entire world. Many regions are already facing similar challenges. This is not just a local disaster. It is a global lesson about what happens when human ambition forgets natural limits. Countries that ignore these warnings could soon face the same fate. The psychological impact of living under water stress is deeply underestimated. Fear of running out becomes a normal part of life. People plan their days around water availability. Hygiene, cooking, and cleaning all become stressful tasks. This constant pressure changes how people think, behave, and feel. The phrase "thirsty for survival" is not a metaphor anymore. It is becoming a reality. Water is no longer just a basic utility. It is becoming a luxury in some regions. The future of millions depends on how this crisis is handled in the coming years. The world often focuses on sudden disasters, wars, and economic crashes. But slow disasters like water loss are even more dangerous because they are harder to see and harder to stop once they reach a critical point. Iran is approaching that point fast. The future is not yet written. Change is still possible, but time is running out. Every year of delay makes solutions more expensive and more difficult. The fight for water is no longer in the future. It is happening now. A nation thirsty for survival stands at the edge of history. What happens next will not only shape Iran, but will send a message to the world. Will we learn? Will we adapt? Or will we wait until it is too late? Thank you for staying with this story. Thank you for caring about the reality behind headlines. Every drop of awareness matters, just like every drop of water. I will see you in the next video.